Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Cam Jennings coming at you on behalf of EpicConversions.com, and I am wanting to talk to you about podcasting today. I'm going to give you 5 points on podcasting, and I've been doing podcasting for a few years now. These kind of low rent podcasts, if you will. I'm a big fan of the solo cast is what they call it, where it's just you talking, I'm out here walking at an industrial park today. A little different. Usually I walk around the neighborhood, but as I'm recording this, it's nice out here. It's like maybe 60 something degrees, 65 degrees out here maybe. Anyways, talked about podcasting. Yeah, I do these kind of low rent podcasts, solo casts, if you will. And I've been doing them for a while. Seems like since 2019, I guess I started getting into the podcast thing. I'll give you some points that I can give you some. I don't know. I'll just give you some insights. I'll give you 5 insights that I have on the subject. I've studied a lot about podcasting. I've done a lot of it. Again, I gravitate towards these kind of low rent podcasts. I don't spend a lot of money on them. I kind of don't dedicate a lot of time or energy to studios or backgrounds or anything like that. Basically, I'm a real big fan of just putting a microphone in front of me and talking about something relevant, in my opinion. Now, so, that's me. That's what I like to do. You might say, well, why do you do that? Why don't you do what everyone else does with podcasts? Why don't you, invest in a really nice studio or a nice microphone setup, put some lights behind you or whatever, Why don't you invest a little bit more? Why don't you put some guests on and stuff? And to that, I would say, I just do what I want to do, That's what I do. I do what I want to do. I don't want to do, I haven't done interviews that much recently. Now, I'll admit, if you go back on my YouTube channel, you'll find lots of interviews. Because in the past, I did do a lot of interviews. But I kind of ran my course with interviews where I didn't want to do them anymore. I didn't want to give them, and I didn't want to do them with other people. So, I kind of ran my course on it. But I digress. I told you I was going to give you 5 points on podcasting today. So, the first point that I'd give you on podcasting is, if you've been watching or listening to my podcast recently, if you were listening to One Step Away, if you were listening to Index Card Insights, if you've been watching Thoughts on a Walk here, I would tell you the way I've been doing it is not the way you want to do it to grow. This is not a way to grow a podcast. Excuse me. Yeah, this is not the way to grow. If you want to grow, a podcast, what you want to do is, well, quite frankly, if you want to grow your podcast for free, I think there's 3 things that you need to do. Number 1, you need to be narrowly focused. More narrowly focused than what I am right now on this show. Thoughts on a Walk, is this a general online business show? That's not nearly focused enough narrowly to compete. Online business for podcasts and for content in general is very, very competitive. So to negate that competitiveness, you have to niche down if you want to compete. This show's not niche down enough, right? That's the first thing you want to do. So that's point one. Now, you notice I'm giving you these points through a lens of what I'm not doing on this show. And that's okay. Because I've told people before, hey, don't do podcasts like the way I'm doing it. This isn't the way to do it if you want to grow. But I don't know that I've necessarily expounded upon that very well. So the first thing is, if you're in a competitive niche where there's a lot of other people doing those kinds of podcasts, you have to niche down. You have to have the awareness to niche down. If you know you're talking about something that tons of other people are talking about, you got to niche down. It doesn't matter like if you're delivering it in a unique way. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have something interesting to say about the subject. That doesn't matter, because the point is they're going to find you by typing in that general topic. Well, what that means is you're going to be competing with a bunch of people who already are there, who already exist. They already have market dominance. That doesn't work, That just doesn't work. Not if you want to grow fast. Algorithms aren't geared to pull you up instead of pulling this proven commodity up or proven asset up. That's not how algorithms are built. They're going to pull up whatever is proven to keep people on the platform longer. So anyways, that's the first thing. The second thing that I would tell you is that if you want to grow, you need to bring guests on. You need to interview people. As big a name of guests as you can get in your niche. Not just anybody. Don't just interview your friends, okay? You need to interview as big a name of people as you can get in your niche. Get them on your show. Their name, even if they don't promote your show, their name alone will pull in people. It'll be interesting just because of their name and the title, And if you can work out a deal where they actually promote the episode for you, that's a bonus. You hear me talking about not doing that. And I don't do it because I don't feel like doing it. But you got to understand, that's a luxury to not do that. If I had a brand new show and I had no continuity and I was making no money, and I had everything that I had was banking on this podcast being successful, I would not be doing it in this way. I'd be pulling guests in, and I'd be interviewing guests, as big a names as I could get. And I just go down the list from big names to smaller names, bringing them on. And I'd be networking with them. But that's point 3. Network with your guests. When you bring them on, ask them, hey, can you recommend or can you refer me to anyone else who might be up for an interview? And by doing that, you can get referred to other people. Ask them for an introduction. Just let them know, hey, you're just getting your show started. You're trying to grow your network. Would they be willing to give you an introduction to some people who might be willing to be on your show? That's 3. Network and expand the network. Point 4, be on other people's shows. You know, yes, you can interview other people, but you also have to put yourself out there as someone who's willing to be on other people's shows. Everybody's looking for content. And maybe when you're first getting started, no one's going to be interested in having you on their show. But as you go, as you develop a little bit of your name for yourself, people will become interested in having you on their show. But reach out to people. You know, and I'm not going to get into like the ways to get interviewed on other people's shows. Be proactive about it. Don't just wait for people to call you for an interview. If you're smaller, nobody knows about you. Nobody cares. You know? So you need to be proactive in that. You need to be able to sell yourself a little bit. Get on other people's shows. And the fifth thing I tell you about growing your podcast is make sure you're constantly building your list. All roads should lead back to your email list. And you can use your email list to push traffic to your podcast. But honestly, you know, when you think about it, the podcast, it should be like an extension of your email list. Your email list is the heart of your business. So the podcast is really kind of just an extension of that. The podcast, as it relates to your email list, it's a way to, you know, strengthen the relationship of the people on your list, to build more rapport with them, to build more trust with them, and to strengthen that relationship. It's really effective at that, you know. So those are the things that I would say when it comes to, you know, growing a podcast. Those are 5 points that I would make on it. You know, me personally, you might ask, like, well, Cam, how come you're not doing those things, you know? And, you know, for me personally, I'm not doing those things. Well, I think it's very simple. I'm not doing those things because I don't have to do those things, you know? I have an email list. I have continuity in place. I have products for sale. I have an infrastructure for sale. So because I have all these things, I don't know. I think sometimes it just makes me feel like I just want to do what I want to do, and I'm not worried about it that much. You know? I guess you could say sometimes it makes me a little complacent. But it doesn't mean I'll always be that way, you know? Like lately, I've been feeling like this itch, you know, to really try to start a new podcast and to just grow the hell out of it, you know? Just grow the hell out of it. Do everything that I would do if I was just hungry as hell for building something, you know? So I don't know. We'll see where that goes. But anyways, these are the things that I would do, you guys, if I really wanted to grow a podcast and build it. And I don't just say that just speaking out my butt. You know, I've been doing these kind of low rent podcasts since 2019. And I've taken podcasting workshops, and, you know, I've consulted with, you know, really great people in the podcasting space. One person I did a workshop with who I thought was really awesome and I respect a lot is Sam Crowley. He does this podcast on Every Day is Saturday. Guys, he's brilliant. He's brilliant at podcasting. But I really respect him, and I really liked a lot of things I learned from him. But again, you know, it's like, you know, it's kind of like that Nirvana song, you know, I'm on a plane. I just kind of feel like I'm on a plane. Like, I don't know. I've just always been a very stubborn person. Like, I know, you know, what needs to be done to make a certain thing happen. But, you know, when it comes to podcasts, I'm not always motivated to do so for whatever reason. Probably because I haven't had to do so. So anyways, that's kind of my stance on it. But I hope those 5 points on podcasting are helpful to you. You You know, I don't know if you have an interest in growing a podcast or not. I think that a podcast is pretty cool. It's basically like having your own radio show. If you try to go solo cast like what I do, the reason I went solo cast, and I think the reason why I love solo casting so much, is because I'm a big fan of, I was always a big fan of sports talk radio. I'm a huge fan of sports talk radio. My favorite sports talk radio guy is Jim Rome. Rome is Burning, sports talk radio. The Jim Rome Show. I love that guy, and I love his show. But he could just talk for hours, He could just talk for 3 or 4 hours just by himself, support that show completely by himself. Without any guests. He does have guests sometimes, but he has callers sometimes, but he doesn't need them. He can just support the whole thing by himself, And I always admired that, And I always thought, man, if I ever got into radio, that's how I would want to do it. I'd want a show like that, So, anyways, that's kind of like my inspiration. That's why I got into podcasting. I guess it's always been kind of a passion project for me. Anyways, yeah, that's where I'm at on it. Hope this is helpful to you in some way, shape, or form. I'm just kind of talking about it. But as I'm recording this, it's actually Easter, I got a few of these scheduled in advance, so you're probably going to see this a few days after Easter. But this is Easter. This is episode 98 of Thoughts on a Walk. I got 2 episodes left, and then we're going to wrap up season 1 here. So that's all I got. If this resonates with you at all, be sure to get over and join up for my newsletter. It's a free newsletter. It's epicconversions.com. I send out emails 3 to 6 times a week. So yeah, if this resonates with you at all, I like to think I put my best free content out by email newsletter. So epicconversions.com. That's all I got. I'll see you in the inbox. Peace now.